will chronicle Fox's never-ending troubles with the IRS.
Every year, Red would file his tax return. The only thing is he would never send a check or money in with the tax return.
And finally, we'll tell you the incredible circumstances surrounding his death.
We all stood there laughing while he was laying on the floor. He had a heart attack.
Fox's story will feature never-before-seen photos, interviews with friends, family members, and business associates, plus an exclusive interview with Sanford & Son co-star, DeMond Wilson.
Red and I hugged and kissed, and he said, "Man, I wish you the best." And we split.
This is the story of a funny man driven by rage. A man who made millions but died broke. A man who sought stardom, then abruptly walked away from fame. This is the story of Red Fox, the true Hollywood story.
The dream of being one of her life's ambition was to be a star. Coverage of the public scandal.
Red Fox was born John Elroy Sanford on December 9, 1922 in St. Louis, Missouri, the great place to grow up if you were white. Entertainment lawyer and friend, James Tolbert.
I don't think he had a happy childhood. It was just a Bible childhood.
When John was 4 years old, his father, Fred Sanford, abandoned his wife and 2 sons, leaving the family destitute. After scraping by for 2 years as a part-time domestic worker, Mary Hughes Sanford was ready for a change. She was dating one of Al Capone's bodyguards, whom she'd met in a local club. In 1928, Mary Sanford moved to Chicago to be with her new boyfriend. 6-year-old John and his 12-year-old brother, Fred Jr., were left behind in St. Louis with their grandmother, Grandmother Hughes. Grandma was a full-blooded Native American who lived in a wooden shack in the black community. John's older brother, Fred Jr., spent most of his time in and out of juvenile hall for stealing, while John fought to fit in. Actress and childhood friend, LaWanda Page.
He had red hair, little beady red hair, reddish complexion. Red got a lot of Indian in him.
Grandma Hughes enrolled 6-year-old John in Banneker Elementary, an all-black grade school. John's light skin made him the butt of his classmates' jokes and pranks, but John found a way to protect himself.
They call it the dozen men. I don't know if you know about the dozen, but that's what they call it then, the dozen. You're talking dirty, about your mama and your papa and all that kind of stuff. He'd do that, and his kids were scared of him.
John was an indifferent student, and in the 5th grade, he was expelled for throwing a book at a teacher. With nothing to do, he roamed the streets of St. Louis. Then one day, 10-year-old Sanford wandered into a black theater called the Plantation House. He sat in a nickel seat and watched the performers who were part of the so-called Chitlin Circuit. Former swing dancer, Norma Miller.
Every city in the South had a black theater that would allow black entertainers to come in and perform for black audiences. Show business go where the audience is, and the biggest audiences was in the South. And that became what they call the Chitlin Circuit.
John absorbed the lewd jokes of the baggy pants comedians and spent hours mimicking them.
Hey, I forgot to tell you, after 2 weeks, they're gonna hang me.
What? Yeah, get me out of these things here.
In 1933, his mother, Mary Sanford, sent for 11-year-old John and enrolled him in the DuSable School on the south side of Chicago. Ex-wife and biographer, Betty Jean Fox.
He went, I think, to about the 8th grade. He didn't care that much for school.
John cared about performing. In 1936, the 14-year-old formed a musical trio with 2 pals, Lamont Owsley and Steve Trimmel, and started playing on street corners. They called their group the Bonbons.
Red played the string bass, which was a big bathtub, and with a string, and he was the bass player.
In July 1939, 17-year-old John and his 2 bandmates set out for New York. The 3 teenagers hopped a freight train and discovered they were in an onion car. For 3 days, they ate raw onions. The trio jumped off the train in Weehawken, New Jersey. Railroad security nabbed Owsley and Trimmel. But John managed to get away and cross the Hudson River to New York. John went straight to Harlem, the vibrant heart of black life in the Big Apple. 30 days later, after serving their time in jail for train hopping, Lamont Owsley and Steve Trimmel joined John, and the Bonbons were reunited. In 1942, at the height of World War II, all three Bonbons received their draft notices. 20-year-old John Sanford, the future Red Fox, was terrified of being killed in the war and had no intention of fighting. Biographer Joe Price.
He ate a bar of soap, and it made his heart beat fast. He went to the draft board, and they said, "Oh, man, you're going to die. You better stay home."
John's fellow Bonbons were not as lucky. They went off to war, leaving John to search for new partners and a new gig. Coming up, John Sanford gets a name change, parties with communists, and dabbles in crime with the future disciple of Elijah Muhammad.
Dudes started referring to him as Red Fox and to Malcolm as Big Red.
John Sanford, the future Red Fox, survived an unhappy childhood marked by poverty and racial prejudice. As a teenager, he quit school and hopped a train for Harlem with a band called the Bonbons. But during the 1940s, while the rest of the world was at war, John stayed home and fought his own private battle to keep his dreams alive.
He wanted to be in show business.
1942 was a turbulent year for John Sanford. With his two friends off fighting in World War II, the dancing washtub player suddenly found himself alone on the streets of Harlem. 20-year-old Sanford was hungry and homeless. Eventually, he landed a job as a dancer and part-time comedian.
He took and used humor to overcome some of the sadness.
But dancing and telling jokes didn't pay enough to support him. So Sanford took a job as a busboy and dishwasher in a Harlem restaurant called Jimmy's Chicken Shack. Some of the customers nicknamed him Red because of his hair and complexion. They also called him Fox because of his foxy way of dressing. John Sanford liked the combination and began calling himself Red Fox. It was around this time, in 1943, that the newly named Red Fox met a streetwise petty crook, also called Red.
It was also around the same time as Malcolm X was on that same set. And he had the name Red also. So it was sort of as a distinguishing factor. Dudes started referring to him as Red Fox and to Malcolm as Big Red.
Big Red's real name was Malcolm Little. He made his living as a small-time criminal, stealing anything he could get his hands on. Red Fox, desperate for cash and never one to shy away from adventure, joined Little in larceny.
Malcolm took these clothes from a cleaner. It wasn't even a clothing store, it was a cleaning store. And they sold us used clothing.
For Malcolm and Red, scamming was a way of life.
They joined the Communist Party. Why? Because there was a meeting every Thursday night and they gave out free sandwiches.
Eventually, the two hustlers drifted apart. Malcolm Little was thrown into prison in the early 50s, converted to Islam, and was reborn as Malcolm X.
Malcolm's mission in life was totally different from Red's. Malcolm wanted to organize the blacks and wanted action now.
Red wanted action too, but not for political reasons. Fox still wanted a career in show business. Red drifted back into performing as a dancer. He and three young musicians scored a gig at the Savoy Ballroom on 104th Street in Lenox in Harlem. In early 1944, while performing for the crowd, 22-year-old Red met a sultry young woman. Her name was Evelyn Killebrew.
She was very aggressive. There was instant attraction.
5 days later, they were married. But the newlyweds could not survive on Red's pay as a performer. Evelyn's father was a moderately successful businessman. He invited the couple to live with him in Newark, New Jersey, and they agreed. Red gave up performing and moved across the river, but the lure of the bright lights of the Big Apple kept pulling him. From 1945 to 1948, Foxx bounced back and forth from Newark to New York, hanging out in Harlem nightclubs. On one trip, he met comedian Slappy White at the Savoy Ballroom. In 1948, Slappy and Red combined their talents and formed a comedy duo.
Slappy was always a suave, slick one, and Red usually had some kind of dumb answer, sort of a black Martin and Lewis when they were doing their stuff.
Red and Slappy started performing together on the Chitlin circuit. Occasionally, the team worked in front of white audiences. There were special rules on those gigs. The black comedians appeared in blackface, heavy dark makeup with large white lips. Red resented the blackface rule.
You remember, he was in the core of the racial issues in this country. You're coming out of a black face, going, I'm not going to put that black face, I ain't going to put that black goo on my face. Now he's stepping out to be a comic with his own face. Remember, you didn't do that.
In 1952, Slappy and Red got their big break, thanks to a famous jazz singer with a crossover audience.
Hannah Washington, who discovered them both. She got booked in L.A. She was a great singer, amazing. I still love her to this day. And she decided to take Slappy and Red to the coast.
Red wasn't going to let anything or anyone stand in his way, including his wife. After 7 years of marriage, Foxx divorced Evelyn and headed for Los Angeles with his comedy partner. But just 1 month after their arrival, Slappy and Red had a terrible argument over a woman and split up.
Red was very interested in this one American Indian, whose name I can't think of, and so was Slappy. So they fought over that, and they broke up.
On the brink of their best chance for success, White suddenly returned to New York, while Foxx stayed behind in Los Angeles. Once again, Red Foxx was left alone, struggling to keep his hopes from sinking. Coming up, Red puts the X in Foxx and starts a new life with a new woman.
Betty Jean and I used to work together when I was a dancer. And she was also a dancer, a stripper.
By 1954, 32-year-old entertainer John Sanford was reborn as Red Foxx. After hustling for a living in Harlem, Red got a break when he teamed up with comedy partner Slappy White. The partnership folded in L.A., leaving Foxx high and dry, but not for long.
He took what he had, which was the language of the street, and made a living.
In 1954, Red Foxx landed his first solo gig as a stand-up comedian in Los Angeles at the club Alabama. Red's act was raw, but powerful. Reverend O.C. Smith was a singer with the Count Basie Orchestra at the time.
He was just saying things publicly that people say privately. And to him, there was no difference.
Performer and friend, Della Reese.
He told some jokes that might have been smutty. He told some that were just flat out dirty.
Red's act was triple X-rated, and he made that trademark part of his name.
And they put the 2 X's because he's doing X-rated comedy. And so they had to put the 2 D's on Red to make it rhyme out with the Red, with the Fox. See?
A year later, Red Double D, Fox Double X was playing all the black clubs in L.A. Red also emceed at strip clubs. At one of those clubs, called Strip City, he met an exotic dancer named Betty Jean Harris.
Betty Jean and I used to work together when I was a dancer. And she was also a dancer, a stripper.
Betty Jean Harris was also a part-time singer who worked with her 2 sisters. Red quickly took a liking to Betty Jean. Soon, the Harris sisters trio was performing on the same bill as Foxx.
He used to come and whisper in my ear and say, I want to marry you. I thought he was just fooling, this was comedy stuff. But when the show started to close, he said, it's got to be now or never. And then I knew he was serious. So we came to Las Vegas.
On July 23rd, 1956, Red Foxx and Betty Jean Harris were married in Las Vegas, Nevada. Red also became an instant father. Betty Jean had a 7-year-old daughter named Debrica.
He treated her like a father. So he said, okay, let's go to court. And I'd like to adopt you, and he did. She was crazy about him. She liked him a lot.
Red continued performing in downtown L.A. clubs, sometimes working up to 6 days a week. Dootsy Williams, owner of Duto Records, happened to catch one of Red's shows and asked to meet the 35-year-old comedian.
Duto Records, black guy on the South Central, who had a label, independent. I don't think he had another artist on the whole damn label.
In 1957, Red Foxx signed an exclusive deal with the all-black label Duto Records. Later that year, Foxx's first album, The Laugh of the Party, was released.
I remember I was so nervous when I first got married. I was so nervous that we got on the train, we were going on a honeymoon. I had to conduct my marriage license, put the tickets in my pocket. He handed me my license back and said, look, this will get you a whole lot of rides, but not on this train.
And a lot of people, you know, like that stuff. You're having a party, drinking, smoking, so you put on your record and play. He was good. He had some good stuff.
The albums had an incredible impact in the black community. Actor-comedian Sinbad.
And I used to go over to this one guy. My dad was a minister, but I used to go to this other guy's house because his dad had them. And I would listen to the Red Foxx albums, and this guy was crazy.
Over the next 2 years, Red recorded a total of 49 albums.
He was the king of the party records for years, sold millions. So Red Foxx was sort of an underground figure, an enigma.
By 1959, however, all was not good in the kingdom. Foxx insisted he was due royalties totaling between $50,000 and $100,000. Foxx took Duto Records to court.
I think that's when they made the settlement on him for that, for those records. I think Dootsy Records gave him something like $52,000.
That was the end of the relationship between Duto Records and Red Foxx. But it wasn't the end of Red's recording career.
I think he was appearing somewhere, and Sinatra saw him and wanted him on the label.
In the fall of 1959, Frank Sinatra signed Foxx to Loma, a subsidiary of Sinatra's label Reprise Records. Foxx was back in business. The Loma albums sold in the millions, and for the first time, white audiences were buying the risque records. But on stage, Foxx was still restricted to performing in black clubs.
A black audience is wonderful for a black artist, but it's like anything else. You have to cross over. You got to go mainstream.
Crossing over meant more fame and a lot more money. Red wanted to appeal to a broader audience. The question was, how? By 1960, the clever Foxx found a way. Coming up, Red becomes the king of Vegas.
He comes out and he says, I don't care how good you are, how big you think you is, you got to wash your ass. So he let off.
And later,
Keno took over. You know, it was as bad as cocaine.
comedian Red Foxx struggled for 20 years to make a name for himself. In 1960, 38-year-old Foxx struck gold with his X-rated albums. The crossover success of his records earned Red a shot at stardom in Sin City.
He'll sort of have a tendency when they got off the plane in Vegas. It was like, here I am, let whatever happens, happen.
In the early 1960s, Vegas was growing. The owners of the Castaways, a small casino on the Las Vegas Strip, hired Red to perform. With big, flashy casinos springing up in the desert, smaller joints were looking for risque acts to help hang on to customers. Foxx's raunchy party albums made him an ideal choice to play Vegas. For the first time in his long career, Red performed as a stand-up comedian, live in front of a predominantly white audience. Actor and comedian Pat Morita recalls Red's tactics for warming up an icy and stoic crowd.
He comes out and he says, I see y'all there in your rented minks and your make-believe furs and bring out the baubles and bangles and the men in the penguin outfits. He says, I don't care how good you are, how big you think you is, you got to wash your ass.
By the end of the 60s, Red had a 3-year contract at the Hilton and commanded $10,000 a week. As his fame grew, Hollywood came calling. In 1970, at the age of 48, Foxx appeared in his first film, Cotton Comes to Harlem.
This is genuine Mississippi cotton.
Red had a minor role in the film, but his performance was memorable. So memorable that Foxx attracted the attention of television producers Norman Lear and Bud Yorkin of All in the Family fame. Lear and Yorkin wanted Red for a new pilot their company Tandem Productions was pitching to NBC. The show was a remake of the British sitcom Steptoe and Son, a story about the struggles between father and son. The pilot did not call for a particular race, but Lear and Yorkin were convinced Red Foxx could play the lead. A struggling young actor named DeMond Wilson was hired to play the son, Lamont.
We just clicked. He was one of my heroes. Red was like a pioneer. He was from the old school.
Foxx and the rest of the cast rehearsed the pilot for 1 week before surprising the NBC suits with the first episode of Sanford and Son. Producer Bud Yorkin.
I called him up and I said, how would you like to come over and see a run-through of Stanford? And he said, well, where? And I said, it's CBS. So they snuck into all the top officials of NBC, snuck into CBS, not wanting to be seen. And we went up into took them up to the rehearsal hall, and when it got done, Herb Slosser and NBC came over and said, the funniest pilot we've ever seen in our life.
Yorkin and Lear got their show. The American version of Steptoe and Son was now Sanford and Son. Red Foxx convinced the producers to name the show as a tribute to his brother, Fred Sanford, who died a few years earlier. Sanford and Son premiered on NBC on January 14, 1972.
With what I know about iron and steel, man, I could become a millionaire, just like that Greek cat that married Jackie Kennedy. And you know something? He started out poor, just like me.
Only one difference.
What's that?
He started out a Greek.
The pilot show went through the ceiling, and we all sat down at the table and said, we're going to do this for 12 episodes.
The sitcom was an instant smash, coming in at number 2 behind top-rated All in the Family. Both white and black viewers loved the new comedy.
It was hilarious, man. I wanted to be on the show. I was young. I said, one day I'm going to work with him.
Red was determined to keep the show true to the black community. Yorkin and Lear allowed Red to play with the dialogue and the action.
Oh, this is the biggest one I ever had. You hear that, Elizabeth? I'm coming to join you, honey.
Red's childhood friend, LaWanda Page, played Aunt Esther.
That's just a clear piece of plastic. No, it ain't. Put up to your face. That's your Halloween mask.
We can think of stuff that's more natural, that fits you better than what the writer wrote. And sometimes they would argue, but Red didn't care. He wanted to do what he was going to do anyhow and made the show a success.
Red was living large, earning as much as $6,000 per week. Foxx used Sanford and Son as an opportunity to help his family and friends. Pat Morita recalls Red's effort to get him a part on the show.
Y'all think you're so smart? Get this boy a job. Red, there's nothing in this week's scripts. I don't care about that. Write something.
Red could afford to be generous. With his steady cash flow, Foxx's motto was spend, spend, spend. Foxx's daughter, Debrica.
He would always say that Christmas was every day, so he would shop for us all the time, and he loved to dress himself. So he always made sure that we were real comfortable.
Red also took care of Red. During his years in Vegas, Foxx developed a passion for gambling. Even after he became a TV star, Red made frequent trips to Vegas and spent many hours and loads of money playing Keno.
He used to play like $100 a ticket, and that kind of bothered me.
By 1973, during the second season of Sanford & Son, Red was bringing home $15,000 a week. But NBC, along with Tandem Productions producers Yorkin and Lear, controlled the show and made more money than their star. Red resented their power and their profits.
No one had any idea that it would have been that successful. And that's where the damage came in. The combination fought a lot of his demons. And he began to take out his demons, anybody that was close to him.
Coming up, Red lashes out.
He didn't take any belittling from anybody, and especially from white producers. He just wouldn't take it.
And later,
I think he was kind of messing around, you know, with other women. And then he became a little violent.
By 1974, 52-year-old Red Foxx was pulling down $20,000 a week on Sanford & Son. At the very least, as the star of his show, Foxx believed he should be making as much or more than the producers. Foxx was convinced he knew why he wasn't paid as much as he deserved, and he was determined to expose the reason.
He probably did think it was a racial thing because Red had a big show and he was in the top 10 all the time.
Red's simmering resentment over his salary often put him at odds with Norman Lear and Bud Yorkin, the producers of Sanford & Son.
The problem that we had with Red primarily was we had a deal with him which would disappear because he'd want to raise above and beyond what it was, and we did that a couple times. Quite honestly, tore up the contract.
Well, they're basically trying to hold us to the initial contract. You know, that's the master-slave mentality. You know, you sign this contract, and which shows ulterior motives. And you know, they had themselves padded on both ends, so that even if the show hit, it was like, yeah, but you signed this contract, and we are enforcing this contract. We don't have to pay you a dime.
Red became volatile and unpredictable on the Sanford set.
But see, a lot of the people that was working on the show, not the regulars, there's people to come in and out, they was afraid of him because he talked so rough. You know, they didn't know the inside of him like I did.
When Foxx couldn't scare his producers, he found another tactic to upset them.
He would say he's sick, he's got a problem, so there was no way you could say, oh, you're just not showing up to work.
Red's constant anger began to affect his marriage to Betty Jean Foxx.
I wasn't happy. I started getting very unhappy with everything because he was upset out there, and then he was bringing it into the house.
Daughter Debrica noticed the change in her father.
He became real insecure, you know, and he would, you know, come in some nights and start arguing with her and hollering, and I think he might have slapped her around a couple of times. I think he was kind of messing around, you know, with other women.
Then he started running around with these Orientals, you know. The black women wasn't good enough for him no more then.
The Orient Express started rolling.
He told me if I didn't like his lifestyle, that I could get an attorney. So I went and got an attorney.
After 19 years of marriage, Betty Jean filed for divorce in a Las Vegas court. She was awarded $10,000 a month. With his marriage now in ruins, the 53-year-old comic proceeded to sabotage his career. Co-star LaWanda Page.
We were rehearsing at NBC, and the rehearsal hall had no windows in it, just a door. And it didn't lead to the outside, it led to the hall.
He had to make an excuse of why he wasn't there. And he made up the excuse that there was no windows in the dressing room.
On May 14, 1974, Yorkin and Lear's company Tandem Productions slapped a $10 million breach of contract suit against Fox. The producers were able to get an injunction against Red that prevented him from working anywhere else until the suit was settled.
So that was purely done from a legal point of view to press Red, to come back.
And I said, hey, I'm going to stand here. As long as Fox fights, I'm going to fight. And that's what we did.
For a while, Fox refused to budge. But with no salary coming in and the injunction limiting his options to find other employment, Red finally gave in.
But I never thought that Red wouldn't come back sooner or later. It was just a question of how soon, how long could he hold out? Because now we had an injunction. He couldn't work. He couldn't make any money, And, 5 weeks later or 6, he did come back.
Tandem Productions dropped the $10 million suit against Red Fox, and everyone returned to work. For 2 more seasons, 75 and 76, the show labored on with Red still harboring a grudge against the producers. And after long court battles over assets, Red Fox and Betty Jean were officially divorced in 1976.
It seemed like I was not a part of his life anymore. So I thought it was best that we parted.
Disheartened by the divorce and still angry over the salary disputes, Fox decided to walk away from Sanford & Son in 1977.
He said, that's it, no more Sanford, and walked out. Honey, listen, I was just floored. I just couldn't believe it. The greatest role you ever had in your life, you're going to walk away from?
Red and I hugged and kissed, and he said, I wish you the best. And we split, and it was the end of an era.
Shortly after Red left NBC, Fox announced a deal with rival network ABC to host and produce a 1-hour variety show. Fox would be paid $100,000 a week and become the first black executive producer of a network series. But after only 6 weeks on the air, the Red Fox Comedy Hour was canceled. Red was discouraged by the results of his first shot as an executive producer, but things were about to get worse. Coming up, Fox runs into an opponent he can't bluff or bully.
I think someone should come and do something to help me, because I've helped a lot of folks,
By 1981, at the age of 59, comedian Red Fox had been through the ringer. His ego and his arrogance cost him a starring role on one of the most popular shows on television, wrecked multi-million-dollar opportunities with 2 networks, and destroyed his marriage. But Red wasn't about to apologize for anything.
13 lawsuits he lost by default. What does that tell you? He didn't even show up in court in some cases, and his cousin was his lawyer.
After his short-lived variety show was canceled in February of 1978, Red Fox was determined to get his professional life back on track.
He opened the Red Fox Productions on La Brea, and that was a disaster from the get-go. Got a recording studio and everything in there.
And he had a movie theater in there, and he would always want you to come back and watch the fights with him, because he loved boxing.
All the facilities and nothing. We didn't produce nothing.
The debts piled up, but Fox ignored them.
He used to take his bills, they say, and just throw them in the trash can.
I tell you, he was a rascal when he wanted to be. He didn't care.
In 1983, after months of dodging bill collectors, Red filed for bankruptcy. Red Fox Productions was history. 61-year-old Red decided to return to his bread and butter town, Las Vegas. Red's attorney, Mark Reisman.
He loved this town. What he really loved was that he could go to work, stay out and have fun most of the night, come home, sleep a good portion of the morning, conduct his business, personal affairs, do things around the house, and then just drive about 3 miles to go to work.
Or go to gamble.
That was the main thing he loved to do, was play Keno. and he was a heavy gambler.
Keno took over. You know, it was as bad as cocaine.
He not only liked the Keno, but sometimes even the Keno runners were a source of enjoyment for him.
Red started dating one of the casino workers, Kaho Cho. His finances improved as well.
Now, Red did something that was ahead of his time. When Red was working out in Vegas, he four-walled the room. He would just rent the theater. So most performers come out, they give you a set fee, you come in. Red would do a midnight show. He did it every weekend, man.
Red was on the rebound. In 1988, at the age of 66, he was offered a leading role in the Eddie Murphy film Harlem Nights. Red reportedly earned $500,000 for the movie. As was his habit, Foxx did not declare the income on his taxes. Actually, he didn't bother to pay taxes at all.
Every year, Red would file his tax returns. The only thing is he would never send a check or money in with the tax return.
In 1989, the IRS struck back.
The indebtedness was somewhere in the neighborhood of $3 million.
Foxx could not pay the balance outright, so the government chose another form of repayment.
They went to his house and wiped everything clean.
I hate to see them come and take his stuff like that, but it was his own fault.
They're taking everything. They're taking the house. They're taking everything.
So where will you go now?
I don't know. Tell me. I wish I knew.
As much as Foxx hated being forced to give an inch or a penny to anyone, he had to strike a bargain with Uncle Sam.
We were able to work out a deal with the IRS where they were willing to accept 10 cents back on the dollar based on what's called an offer of compromise.
In 1990, Red received a call from Eddie Murphy with an offer to play the patriarch in a new CBS series, The Royal Family. Murphy came up with the idea for the sitcom after overhearing a playful disagreement between Red Foxx and Della Reese on the set of Harlem Nights.
We start this argument, and Eddie Murphy says, well, this is the new sitcom. And we just laughed about it because it was all a part of that joking thing. He went in his trailer. It was just about time to break for lunch. When lunch was over, he came out and he had Royal Family.
Red's personal life was also improving. On July 8, 1991, Red Foxx, now 68, married Kaho Cho, a casino worker.
She was with him like when the IRS came, you know, like when he really was down. She was kind of like there for him.
With a new wife and a new job on a primetime sitcom, Red Foxx was once again on a roll. When the E, True Hollywood Story returns, an ironic end for a king of comedy.
And we all stood there laughing while he was laying on the floor.
"1991 brought hope to 68-year-old Red Foxx. Just 2 years earlier, the IRS raided his home in Las Vegas and confiscated his belongings. Foxx worked out a settlement with the government, married a beautiful new wife, and landed a starring role in a sitcom. But his comeback would not have a happy ending.
I wish he could have stayed longer.
In the fall of 1991, Red Foxx was once again entertaining audiences on network television. September 18, 1991, Red's sitcom The Royal Family premiered at #1. Then, on the night of October 11th, during a rehearsal, Red was on a couch with co-star Della Reese when suddenly he clutched his heart.
The producer said, well, we got to get the camera, got to see this. And he said, oh, give me a break, and reached for the chair and did what we thought was a pratfall, because he did that all the time. He said, oh, give me a break, and reached for the chair and did like that. And we all stood there laughing while he was laying on the floor. He had a heart attack.
The cast laughed at the familiar shtick that Red had performed 1,000 times before on Sanford and Son. But the laughter stopped when they realized their co-star wasn't acting. Foxx was rushed to Queen of Angels Presbyterian Medical Center in Hollywood after many attempts to revive him. Red was pronounced dead at 7:45 p.m. He was 68 years old.
See, he died of a heart attack, and that's what he was always faking, that heart attack. And he died of a heart attack.
For the funeral, Red's body was returned to Las Vegas, the town he loved.
They let me go in by myself and see him, so I just wanted to be alone with him. I stood there at the casket and I talked to him, just like he was living, because it just didn't seem like he was dead. And I just said, Red, I told you this, and I told you that, things I had been telling them all along. What you doing laying up here in this casket? Got no business laying up here in this casket. Now look at you. And look like to me, I could hear him say, oh, shut up, bitch.
Like Red used to say, to quote him, you got to die of something. You never knew what day he was going to be which Red. But I loved, personally, all of them. I miss him. I miss him.
Red was one of God's gifts to us to make us laugh.